When you add ricotta to pancakes, you're not turning them into cheesy pancakes. You don't really taste the ricotta. But what happens is the ricotta kind of helps make the pancakes really fluffy and stay super moist. We're gonna use ricotta and cake flour today to make some really yummy pancakes. I wanna welcome all the new subscribers who jumped on board over the last month. And I wanna thank our sponsors today, Misen, but more on them later. For now, let's just jump right into it. We're gonna use cake flour because there's less protein, less gluten in there. So after all, a pancake is essentially a cake still. So like a cake, you use cake flour, you get a nice tender end result. So we're gonna go with 2 cups of cake flour and we're gonna sift. I've weighed it before, it's around 280 grams. But 2 cups is fine as long as you measure properly. You have to spoon the flour into the measuring cup. Don't dig the measuring cup into the flour. You create a really dense cup of flour and that throws the measurements off in whatever you're baking. But yes, I know measuring by weight is the most foolproof way, but we're not doing that today. Once you've spooned the flour in, you want to use a knife and you want to cut that flour up with the knife, moving it back and forth and side to side, allowing the flour to fill in all the crevices lightly without adding any density to the cup, and then level it off. Then we're gonna go with 1 tablespoon of baking powder. I always screw this up. 1 tablespoon of the baking powder, and then 1 teaspoon of the baking soda. And don't use baking soda that's been in the back of the fridge for 5 years. Make sure you get some fresh baking soda so it does its job properly. A teaspoon of salt, maybe 2. Half cup of sugar. Then just sift it to get all the lumps out. So there's your dry pancake mix. Set this off to the side. 4 tablespoons of butter. We're gonna save the rest of the butter for cooking the pancakes. Just pop it in the microwave for 20, 30 seconds, just till it starts to melt. So we got our melted butter. This measuring glass is wearing, so I don't really know where the cup is, so I'm gonna measure that separately. 1 cup of whole milk. Tablespoon of like a neutral oil. I got avocado oil. Half teaspoon vanilla extract. Now I need 3 eggs separated. So I'm gonna put the whites in here. I'm gonna toss the yolks into the batter. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Whisk up that batter mixture. Now I've got about 1.25 cups of the ricotta. Again, I made a video on how to make this. If you want to learn how to do that, I'm gonna leave a link down in the description. I've just got some store-bought ricotta here. It's nice and thick. What I want to do is sweeten it with a little maple syrup, maybe a tablespoon or 2, and give it a little whip. So it kind of looks like a whipped cream at this point. It's nice and sweet, kind of has the texture of a whipped cream. I'm gonna save a little bit for garnish on top. Last thing we gotta do, beat the egg whites to stiff peaks. All right, so we got our dry ingredients. We're gonna work in our wet ingredients. Now you just want to gently have the dry ingredients absorb the wet ingredients, and I like to use a spatula to fold the ingredients in rather than like whisking or beating it. Then I'm going to fold in the ricotta. And I'm going to slowly work in the egg whites. Maybe about 1/3 at a time. Just cut that and fold. Now with the egg whites, you really want to be gentle in folding them in because what the egg whites are is air, and we want to incorporate that air into the pancake batter so it's nice and fluffy. So just cut the batter down the middle and fold onto itself. Then cut down the middle and fold onto itself. Just repeat that until the egg whites sort of incorporate into the batter. As you can see, it's just getting so fluffy and airy and just so beautiful. I'm just gonna let this sit for about 15 minutes, set up the stove, and we can quickly thank our sponsor today. Now when it comes to pancakes, you really need a good non-stick pan. But here's the rub with non-stick pans. Unlike cast iron and stainless steel, they just will not last forever. Doesn't matter how well you take care of them. What that means is that spending an arm and a leg on non-stick pans is not a wise idea. Neither is buying the cheapest one you can find that might be filled with all these harmful chemicals you don't know about. That's why I'm happy to be sponsored by Misen. Misen's mission is to inspire and enable great cooking with better tools by offering premium kitchen kitchen tools at affordable prices. This is their nonstick pan. It has a unique plasma primer. A primer helps make nonstick pans last longer, and cheaper nonstick pans don't use them. It has a 4.22 millimeter thick aluminum base which provides even heat distribution. The pan uses a PFOA-free 3-layer DuPont platinum coating that provides long-lasting nonstick. This is a 10-inch skillet, and most 10-inch skillets actually have only 8 inches of cooking surface area. Miesen designed theirs to have 19% more cooking area than other premium brands, which means more space for cooking food and less overcrowding. It's induction, gas, and electric compatible and oven safe for up to 450 degrees. And most importantly, Miesen's nonstick pan lasts 2.5 times longer than other nonstick pans that cost twice as much. Click the link in the description and use code NACS to get 20% off your first order. And thank you, Miesen, for sponsoring this video. Now to the pancakes. Batter's ready to go. Got my pan ready. I've got my oven on at 200 degrees, really low temperature, just a warming temperature. And I've got a sheet tray with a cooling rack on top, and I'm just gonna sit this in the oven, and when I cook a pancake, they get placed here and kept warm in the oven while I finish my batches. Keep them nice and hot. Now you want to preheat your nonstick pan on like a medium-low heat. You don't want to go too high, and we want to let it really preheat. And then I'm going to take a 1/2 cup measure and grease the inside of it and clean mouth cam because my greasy fingers must have gotten all over it. Once the pan is nicely preheated, toss a knob of butter in there, and I like to use a silicone brush to kind of spread it inside of the pan. We're going to use the 1/2 cup to measure out the pancakes so that they're all roughly the same size. And what you're looking for is the edges around the pancake to sort of firm up and set, bubbles to start to pop on top of the pancake, and to see this slight browning starting to form around the underside of the edges. That's going to tell you that you're creating some caramelization on the underside. Now to some, the hardest part of this process is flipping the pancake, and there is actually kind of a trick to it. Once you determine that the pancake's ready to flip, just slide that spatula underneath it and slide it onto the upper half of the pancake. And as you lift, the bottom will kind of flap away from you, creating momentum. And as the bottom flips away from you, you flip the pancake towards you so that you can just confidently flip that pancake right into the pan, and there should be no issue. And this browning and crust development is what you want to see. The better that crust is developed, the more flavor the pancakes are going to have. Let it cook for a couple minutes on the underside, and that's when you're gonna see that baking powder and baking soda start to activate and the pancakes start to rise. Once it's cooked through, we're gonna pop that pancake into the oven and continue cooking our batches. Now for me, you really gotta use all your senses. You gotta look around the edges, and you gotta smell the intensity of the aroma of the butter browning, of the pancake browning, and you gotta use all of these senses to determine when the right time to flip the pancake is and get that perfect caramelization. Once you got the heat level figured out, banging through the pancakes just gets really easy. If you find you're getting like too dark of a caramelization on the pancakes, that's an indication your heat's too high. Then once all your pancakes are cooked, you just kind of make a nice stack of pancakes. I like to spread some melted butter or some softened butter along the top surface of each pancake. Stack them up until you got a nice stack. Make a nice little quenelle of the maple ricotta that we made earlier. Some nice powdered sugar on top, and finish with some really good maple syrup. Some people like that Aunt Jemima stuff. I'm not really into it. I like that good grade A maple syrup. That's it. Really solid pancakes. If you like pancakes, you like ricotta, you like delicious things, you're gonna have to make this. Links and recipes are down in the description. That's all that I have today. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself and go feed yourself. If you like that video, I got a lot more where that came from. Like the scrambled egg video where I tried salting it a few different ways to see when the best time to salt eggs really is. If you want to check it out, the links are on the screen.